So,
Yeah.
hi everybody and welcome. Hi Sarah, good to see you. This is something that I've decided that I want to start doing once a week in this community. I'm calling it a sip of soul because it's all about spirituality, alignment, energy, understanding who you are as a spiritual being, having this beautiful human experience. And I believe there are so many amazing spiritual healers and creators. And when we come together and we like really have this energy of abundance, we rise together. So I thought it would be perfect to start off with one of my closest friends. I don't know if many of you know this, but Jen and I have known each other since we were 14 years old. I like to think that we were divinely connected as souls, but it took us about 25 years to get on the same spiritual path. Many of you might know her as multidimensional Jen over on IG or TikTok or any of her social platforms, but I know her as my soul sister. So I'm really happy that you're here. I love you to pieces. And why don't you tell us a little bit about Jen and kind of your journey?
So I'm Jen, like you said, multidimensional Jen on IG and Clubhouse, if anybody has. So about 7 years ago, actually 7 years ago in 3 days, it'll be 7 years. My husband got hit by a school bus and we owned a clothing website. So I had to change things up because he was not able to do the same things he was doing before the accident. So I had the clothing website for a few more months, but we really weren't able to keep up with it because we were going through the stuff with him. And I just decided to follow my spiritual path. We were doing a lot of cupping, acupuncture, Reiki.
What
So
year did
many
that
things.
start, Jen?
It was 7 years ago today. So what is that? 2014?
Wow. Okay. Just can you do me a favor after you're done speaking? Because you know how I get like squirrel brain. Just remind me 7 years, please.
Okay. So yeah, so we just started doing a lot of natural healing for him because other things weren't working. And that I was doing it as well. So we were both doing cupping, Reiki, acupuncture, all that stuff. And when I was a kid, I knew I had a gift, but obviously no one thinks it's cool. When you're a kid and you're growing up in the 80s, it's not the same as now. So now it's cool to be,
Yeah.
like this, but it wasn't when we were
Intuitives
kids.
were not cool. They were
No.
weird.
So my friends totally thought I was weird, like repeating or knowing something. And so I just left that kind of in the dust when I was a kid. And then after we started doing this stuff, I felt connected again. And I was always doing healing jewelry from my friend Anna, that we were doing it together. And when I started on this spiritual path, I was more connected to the healing stones, through her teaching me. And I was initially very attracted to that, doing like the healing stones and doing pendulums and doing all stuff that had to do with jewelry, just giving you like some kind of warm heart feeling, like warming your heart, keeping negativity away, giving you power, personal power. So I had started doing the stones and I had started teaching people how to use pendulums to read their chakras, right? So chakras are your seven. You have seven. Yes.
This is
I love
one of Jen's pendulums. And honestly, this is like my baby. I live with this pendulum. It is so beautiful, Jen.
I love that pendulum.
And I don't know. Sometimes even I just hold it. I just love everything about it. And what you're saying about feeling connected to jewelry and the stones, it is so true. Like last night, Jen had a like little a jewelry like crystal party. And if you all want to know more about pieces of jewelry, please connect with Jen or message her. She has absolutely stunning pieces. And she was showing the different jewelry, stones, crystals. And right away, I don't even know the name of the one I bought, but she put it up. I'm like, I have to have it. Like my entire body was like, I need that. So I love what you're saying about how like it's a connection because
Yeah, it was such a connection for me. And the jewelry was my first step into it, and learning how to read the chakras and learning all about that and taking Reiki and just learning about your energy portals and what each one does, like the solar plexus is, like that's your digestive area. So that's like where we hold our power and our willpower and, everything like that and all the connection to that. So learning through the years how many times I've given up my power and how many times I've ended up in anxiety because we hold so much anxiety in our solar plexus. So learning that and knowing how many digestive issues I've had through the years. And I'm like, that totally makes sense because so many times in my life, I've given up my power to people.
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I feel like I give up my power when I try to do more and I try to speed through the process. And to me, my trigger in the last 2 years has really been overwhelm. So it's not, I mean, I guess that's a form of anxiety, but that overwhelmed feeling is me giving up my power.
So that's for you, that would be grounding, like you.
Shocking, Jen.
Shocking. Root chakra, shocking. If you all know Larissa, Larissa is
interesting is
queen spiritual ADHD.
Oh, definitely. And the life path of a one, which Jen, we're gonna chat, but I think I was telling you a few weeks ago, or it might have been a month ago, my sense of time, that there are certain chakras that are associated with the life paths. And the life path one, which is what I am, right? I am a true hardcore one, is associated with the root.
Yeah, that's not surprising. What is the 8? Which one is the 8 associated with? I'm an 8.
So you were, oh gosh, Jen, the star seed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And what was interesting to me was
it's the soul star chakra, right?
That's it. Thank you. The soul star chakra. And what I found interesting when I was connecting the dots and lining this up, it's not that the root chakra is a problem for me. It's my mission in life to learn how to balance it and use it for my power.
100%.
Yeah. So
there's the side of the root chakra that is being all over the place. And then there's the side of you're working on your stability, you're working on your grounding, you're working on passion. I mean, there's a lot of passion in red, right? And the root red. So there's a lot of passion. There's a lot of blessings in that color too. It's just that you have to find your yin and yang energy to have it balanced.
But it's so like my nemesis.
But we're always, listen, we were speaking about this before we got on this call and you wanted to speak about alignment, right? That's kind of what this all is. It's just because we're spiritual workers and we help other people, it doesn't mean we're always aligned. I always come from a place of anxiety, but in the past 7 years of, building this gift and taking classes and learning to get back into my spiritual self and now doing the transformation sessions with people, which what I do is I take a sound bowl, we connect to your higher self. I see you in color. So I see someone in blocked color, whatever chakra color is blocked. And then we work on the traumas that need to come up for you to heal anything that is currently leaving you stagnant, that you're not moving forward.
Oh, so I just had a download. We need to do this live. You're going to do it on me live. They just
I would love that.
I just heard she needs to do your healing live. So that's going to be our next one.
Oh, I love that. I love
You
that.
just said it. You don't have a choice.
I love it. I would love to do that. But since I've went from seeing in color, taking the Reiki classes, learning chakras, taking color theory classes, doing everything, and then moving forward with the transformation healing and knowing that we can clear our timelines and we can clear things that help us or hurt us for not aligning, right? So sometimes things help us, things come up and they help us and they're because it totally makes sense. And it's like, wow, this is the reason I've been feeling this for all these years. And this is the reason I can't get in full alignment. Like I have a great job, I have a great family, but I'm still not feeling aligned. It's because you're holding on to stuff from 20 years ago that it's so deep in your subconscious that you are just not even, you're not even like putting it forward.
Not able to bring it to work.
Yeah.
And I feel like someone working with you or someone like me, where you have a session. I was actually just talking to a few clients the other day about this, that as a healer, we can feel in the session when it reaches this point of alignment. And then all of a sudden, we can feel this release that the person has. And that is, to me, a beautiful experience that we are able to provide. And it's something that I strive for. You know, has there been times where the readings are just kind of going like this and you've not reached that pinnacle moment? Well, yeah, of course. But that just means they're not ready. They're not open. They need more time. They're not aware of it. But I feel like it's our job to bring that person to their higher alignment, that aha moment, that release, and then to have the next, how to go forward with this new aha energy. But I find with alignment, what's interesting is, and you tell me what you think, a lot of times people, and my whole thing, Jen, has always been making spirituality a simple everyday process. We're busy moms, we're wives, partners, we have jobs, and spirituality should not be one more thing that you have to do. It should be a part of your existence, and you should be bringing spirituality into all that you do. And for me, what has happened as a healer, and I'm sure you've felt this way too, you start to look at all the avenues that can help your client. And there's so many, right? The spiritual rabbit hole. And I asked you to remember the number 7, because that number 7 is really special and it has a lot of meaning here. And the fact that you're dealing with that 7 and I'm dealing with that 7, not to mention Mercury in retrograde has not been in Libra in over the last 7 years, is no coincidence. Okay. And 7 is the number of introspection. It's the number of truth. It's the number of spiritual alignment and higher consciousness. It is the number that where you must become a student again. And when I think back to 7 years ago, and you think back to 7 years ago, yes, it probably started sooner, right? But it's like, I know for me, when my father passed 9 years ago, when my son was born 11 years ago, those were the beginnings of my true spiritual awakening. But around 7 years ago is when I took my first Reiki course. And I did Reiki 1, and then I did Reiki 2. And I started on this journey of, I want to be a healer. And you said the same thing. And I think that's just no coincidence. You said 7 years ago, I realized I have these gifts that need to be shared. And that's exactly what happened to me. And what's interesting, this started 7 years ago. And then you walked on this journey on your own. I walked on this journey on my own. We still knew each other. But 2 years ago, our journey in a year came together, did it not?
Yeah, it's more than that. I've been here 2 years.
Right.
No,
So
4 years ago.
4 years. I'm sorry. 4 years. And it's interesting because I believe like we needed to walk on our own first. And then I'll never forget when we were connected again, you forced me out of my house. I know people think I'm very social, and I am, but Jen?
She's not. She'd rather be on a computer when she does work like this. And I'd rather be in person when I do work like this. And now I'm forced to be on a computer most of the time.
Yeah.
So that's the yin and yang energy, right? That's like that kind of I was more an in-person, and I do some in-person stuff now again. But I was forced to get out of my comfort zone because this is not comfortable to me. Being on screen doing it, I'd rather like be hugging someone or be in person and have that like real. I can read your energy through the phone just fine. I can see your color through the phone just fine. But the feeling that you have when you're in person with someone and you're like actually getting that innate vibration by being with them, there's nothing like that.
So my gifts, I mean, I think at some point we all have all the gifts, right? But like the dominant gifts that I use to do my healing are clairaudience and claircognizance, right? Those are my two strongest gifts. So for clairaudience, I need to close my eyes because I need to hear. And what I find interesting is that if I'm looking at you and I'm focusing on making eye contact and really having this conversation, I can't turn to spirit. So when I do a reading, I will shut my computer screen off because I need to walk. I need to walk. Sometimes I will lay on the floor with my eyes closed because I can hear. And I think in the beginning, for me going face to face, I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to tune in because I could get very distracted with my eyes. But I think I've gotten more confident now, learned to trust what I hear, learned to trust what I feel. And now I feel like in person, I feel more confident. But in the beginning, I felt like there was too many, like almost like a sensory like overload, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it completely makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the way I feel like doing, even last night when I did the Zoom for the healing jewelry, it's, like to have like 20 people on the Zoom, and I loved it. And I loved that that it was just such a great audience and everybody came. But yeah, it's not easy for me to, I don't know. I'm so much better in person, but I'm working on it. Regardless of how I feel. Oh, I love that. I love Aura Quartz.
What was this? You pointed this out last night. What was this called? See,
Rainbow Aura Quartz. So Rainbow Aura Quartz is dipped in metal. So that's dipped in titanium to get the color.
Okay. So I go and I don't even, I'm never going to remember what this is.
But it's a connection. It's your connection to God, source, universe. So that's why you like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just go and I buy what I feel connected to. And this has always been one of my favorites. And I don't know why.
Carnelian. It's a grounding. Wait, does that have little sparkles on it? It's hard for me to say.
Yeah.
Oh, Goldstone. Goldstone has copper in it. So Goldstone is actually man-made, but It has copper in it. And the copper is what gives it like the calming feeling. And it's for your root chakra. So that's why you could use it for your sacral and your root chakra.
Is this Cornelius?
No, that's pyrite.
So what's Cornelius? I want to get that.
Cornelius looks similar to the Goldstone you just had up. It just doesn't have the flakes that flaky gold pieces in it. Like
same color.
It's the same as that color, but it's just different. That one's an agate. Agate also grounding.
Yeah, I find it interesting that I just picked. And then this one, I love the smoothness. It's a purple. Hold on.
Yeah, that's probably ruby. That's probably ruby. Either ruby or lepidolite, the one that you got last night. See the rough one that's on your pendulum?
Yes.
It's either a smooth version of that, or it's like a lot of times ruby is a little more purple than red. Yeah, so it's either that in a smooth version. That's what you bought last night too. You bought the purple one you bought is lepidolite, which is, it helps you not repeat old patterns. And then the other one you bought was, you bought blue quartz dipped in 14 karat. And it's a druzy. So the druzy is all about stress.
I'm already thinking about like getting white shirts just so I could wear it. Like just put it on me. So this is about relieving stress, which I need. Is it trust?
Well, it's blue. It's blue. So blue will always be with trust and communication. So the color blue will always be throat chakra, and the purple will always be like divine connection, your divine connection to source. But you took those two stones, but I think like the purple was good because not repeating old patterns, because you're like, okay, I want to do, you know what I mean? Like I want to move forward. Who wants to repeat an old pattern, right? So you don't want to do that. You want to move forward from it.
It's interesting because, Jen has known that the last 6 months have been really hard for me. I feel like in the spring, my life started to change. And then the summer, my world was completely shaken after the passing of my mom. And I'm learning to live life without her, although I accept her passing, because as spiritual healers and intuitives, we understand that the life after is so amazing, right? Like we understand that it doesn't end, but it's like I feel like a brand new baby, like relearning how to live without her parents. And I will say this, when you go back to your old patterns, what I find is that it's almost like a habit, right? Because it's easier to go back to your old patterns because you've done this all your life, right? That there's so much contrast and so much like you're uncomfortable being different and trying new things. It's just easier to be the old Larissa. But what I'm realizing as I'm starting to learn how to be Larissa all over again, that it's almost like my wants, my desires, the way I move cannot be the same. Like I literally feel like I'm reinventing myself. And I love the fact that, you know, I have friends like you who say, okay, you need this, because I don't want to be drawn back. And I think as in the spiritual world, people think it's always going to be just a straight shot up. And it's not how it goes. You make some growth and then you're pulled back. And then you make some growth and then you're pulled back.
Well, we always vacillate. We're always going to vacillate between two things. You're always going to vacillate between your higher consciousness. You'll always vacillate between consciousness and unconsciousness, right? So even though we're going into like a 5D conscious world, we're moving towards that, you're still vacillating, between like, there's still that duality of like faith, fear. And that's kind of what we're seeing play out in the world. It's like we went through it individually, and now we're seeing that play out in the world of the duality of faith and fear. And, where are you coming from? Where are you now? What choice are you making 2 days from now? And we're kind of seeing that play out, but that it's kind of playing out of the duality that we always played in our heads. Right. We've always had that in our heads, and now the world is kind of living the state of duality.
And what's interesting is in numerology, there's always duality represented by numbers, right? And whenever I do a reading, I'll tell people like, oh, this is this is that. They're like, oh, well, I'm not that. I'm not cynical. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I'm like, but you have the potential to be. And I think people think duality means positive and negative. And I guess in some way it does. But I like to see it like you just said, duality is higher timeline, lower timeline, higher frequency, lower frequency. And I think what has taught me all these years, what I've learned all these years, is that when you are aware of your lower timeline and you can almost see these triggers, right? It doesn't mean you're going to live a life without it. But you can recognize when you're going there. And when you're going there, then you say, oh, wait a second, I'm walking the lower timeline now. I can change this, right? I can rise.
You want to heal what comes up. You don't. So when someone says something to you, that's always a mirror of them, right? They say something to you, it doesn't what comes up.
Hold on, Jen. So wait, something happened.
Something to you, that's always a mirror.
Okay, I'm going to take this. All of a sudden, the Facebook on my phone just kicked in and all the comments came in. So we have a ton of comments. But finish what you're saying, and then I'll go to the comments.
So when someone does something to you that doesn't feel good, that's a mirror of them. But the way it makes us feel is our trigger. So right. If someone, it's not a mirror of us, and we're not, that's not reflective of us, it's reflective of them. But it's still a trigger. But that trigger comes up because we need to heal it. We have to heal it. So it's coming up for a reason. We're supposed to heal that. So we're just not supposed to dig deep anymore. Right. So that's what I do in my sessions. Like we get through it in an hour. I do 3 at a time. I don't do more than 3 because it is a traumatic session because we're dealing with traumas, but we get through it in that hour because this isn't something you should be continually holding on to. Nope. And that's what the problem is with vacillating with some individuals, is that we feel we have to live in the truth. Like this was put forth to us when we were younger, and that's how we're going to live the rest of our lives. But that's not the case. Nope. This was put forth to you, and it's sad that it was something you went through, but what you do today is what you choose. You have a choice to do something different. So you have to go through those traumas to up level further.
I feel like
That's
people
mine.
say shadow work or inner child work, right? First of all, I have a little bit of issue with those terms. Because to me, when someone says I have to do shadow work or I have to do inner work, that means like you're going to a job and you're going to work at it. And what I love what you're saying is that it's not. We don't have to stay there. I feel like shadow work should be rephrased into turning the shadows into the light.
Well, I never use that
Yeah,
term. It's
I hate it.
I don't have any problem with someone using it if that's what what they
But it
use.
gives people the wrong perception of what they're
Well,
doing.
it makes it again the duality of darkness and light. So it gives it that inner child. I don't see it that way. Inner child, I think it's just going. Listen, everything is inside of us. So everything is our hearts. Everything is inside of us. So what other people do, the way it affects us is because of us, not because of them. We always want to like place blame on this happened, but it's the way we're feeling, the way it's making us feel. That's inside of us. That's no one else. We have a choice to hold on to stuff. And believe me, I have done the work myself. I still do the work because things affect me. But I know at the end of the day, like when someone does something and it feels shitty, it's still what I'm holding on to. It's not what they did. It's what I'm holding on to, that I'm choosing this. I'm choosing to feel like shit today. I'm not choosing to feel good today. No one else did that to me.
It's amazing to me because, many of you know my Aunt Rita is like my guru, right? But she didn't study like this. She doesn't know like the terms. But when I got into the spiritual world, I'm like, oh, Aunt Rita, do you know who Abraham Hicks is? No. Do you know who Wayne Dyer? No. But she says all the things that they teach. And one of the things that she always would say to me is you get two choices in life. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you go through it. And it's this simple. There are no other choices. You either choose to be happy or you choose to be unhappy. And that has always stuck with me because whatever situation you're going to face, you get to decide how you want to walk through it. Losing my mother, I'm amazed at some of the things that people say. And I know they mean well, but I don't think they understand. People will look at me and go, I thought you would have been a mess. You look good. Yeah, you look like you're handling it pretty well. And they almost equate that with my love for her. That because I'm
but no, you're equating it with your love for her.
Oh, shut up, Chad. No. Oh, okay. So yeah, you're right. Okay.
I'm gonna call you out on it. You're equating that.
Okay, fine.
To you. So all you need to say is, yeah, I put makeup on today because I like to feel beautiful and it makes me feel good. Right. So yes, I look good today because my mother wouldn't want me to look any different. That's all you said back to me.
So, well, I look at it like this. I feel like grief is an experience that you go through, right? And it's a journey that doesn't end. So I choose to go through the grief, finding moments of happiness and joy, feeling gratitude for all that I have. And what I've noticed is that the more that I make this choice, the stronger I feel connected to her. The only thing that's been really hard for me is like I told I've been avoiding my sister.
That's not
and I told her, I'm like, oh, hey, because I used to call her like every day. And like, I think I called her like a week ago. She's like, hello. I'm like, yeah, I'm totally avoiding you because when I speak to you, then I'm like, oh crap, mommy's dead. Like,
but you know like, what? But you're recognizing that it's again a pattern you don't want to repeat.
Right.
The lapidal light will help you with that. Yeah. But you don't listen. Everybody grieve. The thing is, there's no handbook for grief, right? There's no, and if there is, I wouldn't even want to read it because the truth is, everybody has to feel. And I know your love for your mother, and it's going to make me cry now. Like, and I know how much love you have for your mom. Right. But everybody does things differently and puts their, not everybody puts their pants on the same way, right? So someone might put the left leg first, someone might put the right leg first, and it has nothing to do with, this person looks like she doesn't have her shit together after her parent passed away, and this one does, doesn't mean there's any difference in grief. It's just, you may be going home, you may be putting your makeup on, showing showing this beautiful face to everybody, and then you may be going home at night, and then that's when you're watching something on TV, and then the tears are pouring out because you're like, this is my mom.
Well, what's interesting is that, and I agree with you completely. When my father died, which is 9 years ago, I was a disaster, but it threw me into spiritual studies. It threw me on this spiritual journey of like knowledge, the afterlife, connecting to source. His death really catapulted goddess giving. And I feel like the last 9 years has prepared me for my mother's death, if that makes sense. Because
I think transition is a different thing when you're a spiritual healer too, because we recognize transition as they're leaving their physical body, but they're not leaving. Right. So I think before this experience, like even being somewhat connected when I was a kid, I didn't know any of this. So now studying it and knowing it and teaching it to others, knowing that, I do look upon death differently, because I know that we had an earthquake here the other day. So we had 3 earthquakes the other. We actually had
Wait, I don't watch the news, so I had no clue.
So no, I didn't watch the news either. We just felt it. We were just like, oh, holy cow, what was that? Like the whole. So
a real earthquake in South Carolina.
We had a real earthquake. So we had 2 earthquakes in the morning, didn't feel it, and we didn't even know about it because, again, we don't watch. I haven't put on regular TV since everything's happened 2 years ago. So, the third one, we thought our washing machine like exploded or something. We were like, "What was that?" Because it was like a boom, and the house shook. And Trevor came in, and he was like, "What was that?" I don't even know if he asked if it was earthquake or what it was, and I was like, I think it's an, and Brian went outside, and everybody was standing outside, and they're like, we think it was an earthquake. And sure enough, it was. So I guess it was an aftershock, but the aftershock was actually more than the first 2 were. So
some irony in that.
Yeah. I feel like it's, and I also feel it's like shake things up. It was kind of like, I'm like, what does this mean for me? Like, I'm going to look at this spiritually and say, what is this? What does this mean for me that it happened? And it's not, I live in South Carolina. So South Carolina, you think hurricanes, I don't normally think, but I do live on a fault line, and I do know that, but I've known people that lived here the past 15 years and never felt an earthquake. So
you're having earthquakes. New York is getting flooded. What the heck is going on in the world? Okay, Mother Earth, we hear you.
But I feel like it's shaking it up. It's like, all right, this is what's going on. This is what you're feeling. And,
Well, it's interesting.
I feel like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I feel like you have these things happen for you to kind of put stuff in perspective, right? You're like, all right, you're connected to something much bigger than what we're seeing here. So what I was saying about transitioning is knowing all the stuff. Normally, years ago, I would have been in a place of anxiety with that, like really bad anxiety, that happening, because it was, listen, it was a 3 point something. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't like a
still. I don't think I've ever felt an actual.
But it was. We were all kind of like, whoa. But
thank God nobody was hurt.
Me looking at life differently, it was very emotional for me. So it happened, and I felt like, what spiritual connection is this? Is this like to shake me up and like get me out of my comfort zone and do more? And then this is the point of where I get to the transition, is I said a prayer, and I was like, I just need a sign that I'm going in the right direction and everything's going to be okay, because I feel like this earthquake was meant for me to feel. And I look outside my window, and sitting on my little tree outside, there was a big, robust red robin, like just sitting there, like staring at me.
Like, hey.
Yeah. Like, I was like, oh, hi, how are you?
We're here. Well, it's interesting because, everything has a spiritual connection, whether it's animals, numbers, natural disasters, experiences. And what you felt with the earthquake is what I felt with the flood. When that flood happened, I knew it was Spirit's way of saying, listen, you need to reinvent, have a rebirth, like a washing, like almost like I literally felt like the old Larissa was washed away. And there's this open space now for the new, more modern, more evolved, more, deeper Larissa to stand forward. And I think when these things happen, they happen so that we notice it. But then it takes faith and courage to actually go and do the next step, right? So look what you did. Jen, a year ago, would have never went on live and had her event. So I think we need to celebrate our wins. I think we need to look at every little change as a step on the spiritual path of alignment. Because when you are out of alignment, you feel bad. When you are out of alignment, you feel anxiety, you feel the contrast. And what it's taught me is that when I go into that state of overwhelm or that state of contrast, it's Spirit's way of saying, okay, look at the contrast that you're in and use it to gain your clarity. Use it for the path of alignment. And I'm a more person. The ego is always very strong with the ones, but it's also their superpower if used correctly. The root is also a mission in my life to stay grounded. And I've had to learn over the last few months, where do I want my attention to go? Who does Larissa want to be? And what brings me the most joy? And then to do that repeatedly. And that's where I am right now, is finding my alignment again. Because for the longest few months, I have been out of alignment. And you could sit there and say, oh, well, you had this happen or you had this happen. And yes, those things will knock you off course. But I fought it and I fought it and I freaking fought it. And I knew I was fighting it. Like, why? I'm like, nope, I'm going to force this square peg into this round freaking hole. It's going to work. And that was ego, because when we think we can control that outcome, we're going to get knocked out of alignment. So my point of this is that anytime I feel out of alignment, the only thing that helps me is writing down what I feel is broken, what I feel is causing me stress, what I feel is a burden. And then I write the opposite. And do you know that every time I try to find a new way of alignment, it's always the same three things: live healings, live teachings, angels, numerology. It's always the same thing that brings me peace and joy. And I've decided that if there's three things in life that bring me peace and joy, why the hell would I want to add a fourth?
No, I think it's great.
So when you're out of alignment, right? What brings you back into alignment?
Well, for me, it's sound healing. How I can get back in is doing anything with frequency. So every night before bed, I have a frequency tone on.
I've been listening to my 528, by the way.
I'm very proud of you. I'm so proud of you that you're sticking with it. So yeah, I do a solfeggio frequency before bed. I do, sometimes I do a heal. Can you heal your body?
Can you take a minute and just explain, obviously this is in the tribe, but we're also going to go onto YouTube as well. So for anybody new that's just coming in and has never heard of solfeggio frequencies, can you just give them a little bit quick what that is and how it works?
Yeah, solfeggio frequencies were originally used by Gregorian monks, and they would chant with them, and it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. That's the solfege scale. So these frequencies align to the frequencies of the body. So different frequencies do different things. Like 528 repairs the DNA and it resonates with love. So it resonates with your heart, but it also resonates with the color yellow. So it also resonates with your solar plexus. So yeah, I love yellow. It's such a power color. So then like 963 is your crown chakra, your connection to source, universe. 852 is your intuition. That's your third eye. 741 is your throat, communication, expression. Like I said, 528 is the heart and the solar plexus, but also the heart is 639. So that's relationships. That's more relationships based of the heart. Then we have 417. That's the sacral, which is, getting out of fear, getting out of that like mother womb energy, guilt, any of that stuff. And then we have the 392 or 396. Look it up because I can't write. I never, root is one of the ones I never use. It's either 392 or 396. 392 or.
Oh, I'm looking it up.
Yeah.
It's root.
No, 392 or 396. 392, right?
396 is fear and
396. Okay, so 396.
396 is fear, guilt, removal, balance, root chakra.
Yeah, it's more balance, grounding. Fear and guilt, I would say more of the sacral. We hold a lot of fear in our sacral. But yeah, 396 and 417 is the sacral. So 396 is the root. I always get confused with 396 or 392 because that's not one that I'll recommend to people if they work it. It's not my thing.
So basically you're saying I need 396.
Well, you've used 396. No, but we're doing everything in this consciousness. We're doing everything through the heart. So I think everybody kind of needs that 528. And then if they really fall off kilter where they're like feeling really back and forth, then they can kind of go to the one that is specific to their needs. But you can never go wrong with doing a love frequency and something that repairs your DNA. Some nights during this time, during COVID and everything, I've been using Heal Your Body. So if I feel like I'm under the weather at all, if I have like a cold or something, I use the Heal Your Body for a few days. That's another frequency. They have frequencies for everything, to stop smoking, to.
It's amazing. And
yeah, it's amazing.
You can go to YouTube.
Yeah, I like Glenn Harold. I recommend Glenn Harold because he's been doing it for over 20 years. So it's Glenn with 2 N's and Harold with 2 R's. I feel like he is the best hypnotherapist out there. His frequency, I've seen the change in me going from an autoimmune and first starting these practices. These I've been doing almost 5 years, and doing it initially and then learning about it because it changed my life from me waking up and like sweating, shaking, anxiety-driven person to just waking up so refreshed in the morning and so happy to get up and feeling it was life-changing for me. So frequencies is something that I always run to when I don't feel aligned. And if it's a specific alignment, if I'm feeling myself in fear, then I will use a 417 or something. I will change it up. If I feel like my intuition is a little off, I'll go to an 852 and I'll be like, okay, I need to work on this tonight. I need to have a little astral projection dream state where I'm kind of going into that state of mind. So I'll use an 852.
But I love, like, part of your gifts are the sound frequencies. So when you're out of alignment, you go into sound healing. And mine is, the hearing of spirit and all of that. And my biggest way of connecting to spirit is writing. So when I'm out of alignment, I go into my writing. I find that so interesting. Although I do love the sound frequencies, but for me, the writing is the therapeutic piece, where for you, the music.
Oh, the music. Music has always been my life, though. Even I like rock music and I like everything. But music in general, when we're during the day, we don't have the TV on because Trevor, we have Trevor doing virtual school. So I have music on in the living room, and my friend came and stayed for a few days 2 months ago. And she's like, I love that every day you just have like Pandora on and you just have music on. But music is such a big part of our lives, and it's very relaxing to me. It's very.
Oh, you remember so Jen has a lot of famous like rocker celebrity friends, and she's always like, oh, this person. And she's like, you have no clue who they are, right? And I'm like, no. And then, but like Jen knows some seriously famous rocker people, and she's like, I can't believe you don't know it. And then you hum the song or you sing the song, and then I know it. But I love that you started out in the same way, like you started out with Reiki, you moved into this, you moved into that, and now you're in your space of alignment. And the same thing has happened to me. I feel like when people get into the spiritual world, most people will start with astrology. I think it's a good place to start. Astrology, numerology, auras, chakras, Reiki, because you're getting introduced into the world of energy, alignment, duality. And I think my advice to anybody, and your advice too, would be that just pick a path. Whatever path you start on doesn't mean you're going to end up there, but it's going to help you get to where you
Oh,
want.
yeah, for sure. Did anybody ask anything? I know you said there was comments. Did they ask anything?
So Martine is here. Hi, Martine. What is
Hi, Martine.
Jennifer? Hey, Jen. Rod. Eleni.
Hi.
Who else? And it's Zerai. Anyone have any questions for Jen and I? Oh, and then the other thing too is what I find. So Jen and I have been on, we're lifelong learners, right? We're all spiritual learners, and we're in spirit school, which is Earth. So as long as we're alive, we are in school. But I do feel that you don't need certifications to start this journey. But I do believe that studying will only help you perfect your craft, which will then help you heal others. So, Jen and I can say this, hi, Carrie, hi, Donna. We take this very seriously. We've turned this into our profession. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like any other profession, it requires commitment, daily practice, dedication to your craft, and continual education. So this is not something that you just stop after 3 months. Jen is always learning. I'm always learning. I'm doing a certification course, to become a certified oracle.
I take classes every Wednesday night. Yeah, I love it. I always want to know more. Tell me more, make me learn. I never can know too much. Yeah, I love it.
How many of you want some classes? You want Jen and I to do some classes? We'll have to.
I would love that.
But I feel like it's important to share that, because I think people think that once you read this point, it just comes naturally. And it does, right? But like anything else, if you woke up every single day and you didn't eat healthy, or you didn't put effort into your exercise routine, your body is going to feel the effects of it. And if you wake up and you don't put effort into your spiritual growth, spiritual alignment, spiritual practice every day, your energy is going to feel the effects of it. So whatever you do, whether it's listening to music like Jen, whether it's writing like me, yoga, meditation, going for walks. Man, let me tell you something. I walk and I get so many downloads. It's like crazy. Whatever you decide works for you, I think the goal is that we find a practice that you could be committed to. Would you agree, Jen?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Donna has a question. What books should we start reading? That's a really good question, Donna. So I have my top favorite ones. Jen, do you want to start with any books?
Yeah, I'm not going to. So when I first started, there was a few Reiki books I read, Chakra books, and Joe Dispenza. I always think anything you get by Joe Dispenza is going to be amazing. Becoming Supernatural is something you'd start with. But I don't read much anymore, because I feel, this is to what you were saying to your aunt, that she didn't learn from other people.
I know where you're going with
intuitively came to her. And I feel like I kind of feel like when there's certain spiritual people like yourself and others that I follow on Instagram, and I want to be inspired from. But I feel like when you start reading a book and then something contradicts what you say, there's a questioning that goes on. And I feel like I trust my intuition now. I'm at the point where I trust my intuition. So I would definitely recommend Becoming Supernatural. Joe Dispenza would be a great book to start with. But I'm not big on Louise Hay also, I mean, yeah, like anything like that.
Well, I think what I'm hearing from you is sometimes when we rely on the voice of others, we lose our own connection to our own voice. Because what happens is we're filling. We get in a state of constantly filling the mind as opposed to learning, processing, and then applying. Wisdom is only good when it's shared. So these books of personal growth, personal development, spiritual growth, and development and teachings are wonderful. But if you're not taking the information, making it your own, and putting it back out into the universe, it's freaking pointless.
I feel like that's where it kind of goes between. It's like you're learning, and then are you just kind of verbatim doing what the other person says in the book, or are you doing it on your own? So I've learned a lot. And like I said, I do take a class every Wednesday night. So it's not that I am learning from someone, but the book itself is not as much of an interest to me anymore. If that makes sense. Joe Dispenza would be my number one guy though. If I was
reading anything, a little heavy for me.
Yeah. I don't even know if I could, and I don't have ADHD. I don't come from a place of that, but any book that I get, I had two friends that sent me books. So of course I wanted to read them because they were their books and they were fabulous. But it's not easy for me anymore, where I used to sit down and read a book in like 2 or 3 days. Like I'd do it at night.
Sit down? Who does that?
Now I can still sit down, but I'd rather put on music.
So Jen, hey, look, this is my reading. Okay. And they're all like started and not finished. But
I have a few books next to my dresser, and I'm like, and sometimes I'll skim through. I really like writing what I'm feeling. So Donna, I would say also to journal yourself, like always about positive things. I never say to journal negative things because we don't want to hold on to that. No. But like things that are coming to you, things that feel good to you, you write your own story, write your own journal.
Right.
Like,
damn right. Yeah. This is a good book though. This one, have you read this one?
I read The Secret, but no, not The Greatest Secret.
So it's interesting because I thought, it's probably going to be like The Secret. Totally different. And it was one of those books that you read for like enjoyment, and kind of like the whole way was, I feel that way. I live that way. I believe that way. Oh my God. It was a book of an alignment, like just proving that your thought process and everything that we are is 100% valid. It was a quick read, but I loved it so much better than The Secret.
So that's a good suggestion.
I think that's a good suggestion. Donna says, how do you start? Yes, I've done. What do you mean, Donna? How do you start your spiritual journey, or how do you start listening to your intuition? I think she means listening to your intuition.
You can do the 852 solfeggio is a good way to connect to your intuition. Glenn Harold is the one that I recommend. He has an app online. You can do it on, you can download it to your phone.
I actually have his app. I'll show it to you guys. So it looks kind of like this. All right. What is that doing? And he has some free ones, but each one you buy. So Jen is saying 852, and it says awaken your intuition, and it looks like that. And I actually have already purchased that one. It gives you a synopsis. And what I love,
and they're really inexpensive. They're like $2.99 or $2.99.
They're nothing. What I love about it is his voice. Hi, this is Glenn Harold. It's
and awaken your intuition.
My husband's like, who is this man that I hear? I'm like, it's Glenn.
You know, it's so funny. I share him. It's about 2 months ago. I've always been following him, but I shared. Someone kept on asking me about frequencies, so I was like, you know what? I'll share it in the story. So I shared it in my IG stories, and Glenn Harold reposted it. And I was like, you know what? I've met all these people in my life, but I said to Brian, I was like, but this is like fangirl. Like no other person I met in my life have I ever felt like a fangirl. I was like, I'm like fangirling out right now because this guy's like changed my life. So I love that he shared my post.
Maybe you should come up with your own app.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I have a frequency that I give to clients. That's like a 3-minute quick frequency that I use when a client books with me. And if I feel like they need a quick one when they're like busy, hustle and bustle. But I had Anomal Kingdom on TikTok. I had met him on TikTok and he had done it for me. He had produced the frequency for me, which I absolutely love. But yeah, I know one day maybe, because I do love sounds. It is part of who I am.
Well, Jen, we have been on for an hour already. For somebody who doesn't like to speak, you did a phenomenal job. You look beautiful. And I hope that everybody, what was the name of the app again? I couldn't see it. So it's Glenn Harold.
Yeah. And Solfeggio is the name of the app.
Yes. And the app is Solfeggio. Let me see if I can find it again.
Lfeggio.
Yeah. It looks like this. When you get it, it'll be like this blue star. Like this one.
See that star in it? That's what it'll look like.
It will look like that. Solfeggio, that one. And then you open it up and get all these other ones. So what I'd like to do really before the reading, before we went live, I pulled a card for the group. So I kind of want to just finish with that. I also, if it's okay, Jen, do you have like 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
One of the things that I was going to do is I'm going to do a couple of videos on the energy of October, but since it's September 30th and tomorrow will be October 1st, I thought it would be really great to discuss what's coming so that we can all walk away with a better understanding of how to move through October with more ease and joy and flow. So it's interesting because you and I have been having this conversation and you kept saying transition and transformation and, change, right? And September was all things transitioning. All things change both in your physical world, in your spiritual world, your mental world, and even in just everything around you. It's like expect the unexpected, like a hurricane coming in and just shaking things up, or a flood. And it's a complete massive 180. Right? Like it's just didn't see that coming. And it's about being in contrast so that you can have clarity in October. Okay. And in this great state of change, you were meant to communicate to spirit. What do you want? How do you want to be? And who do you want to become? So now that we go into October, it's about building your new home. And I really love that, energy, that vision of what it means to build your home. Who's in it? How do you want to make them feel? Who do you want to nurture? So as we move into October, the house takes center stage, both physically, emotionally, and our spiritual house. This is our spiritual house, okay? And it's about nurturing what you love and building stronger, more intimate, deeper connections and relationships. So it's not the month to go out and get, 1 million followers, but it's to go make someone feel like $1 million.
I love it. Can I recommend a few stones for that too?
Yeah, I would love that, Jen.
Yeah, I feel like for that, the nurturing part, rose quartz would be great for the nurturing. And I feel like for the calmness of it, to kind of have that stability and calmness, I would say amethyst, right? Amethyst is a really calming stone. It wards off kind of the negative vibes. And I would say for the protection and the kind of being in your place and being, being confident in it would be tiger's eye. I feel like those are
So that's what I'm going to do. All of my readings this month are going to be done with amethyst, tiger's eye, and rose quartz.
And if you have a piece of tourmaline too, because tourmaline is great for grounding and stability and building.
Tourmaline is black, right, Jen?
Yeah. That's obsidian, but that's all right. Obsidian is also good for stability, so you can use that.
What about this one?
Tourmaline. That's it.
Okay. So these are my...
Yeah, those are your stones for the month. That's good for October.
Oh no, Jen, look at this. One of my crystals broke a piece off.
That's okay.
Is that okay?
You can bury it. bury it and just bury it and say a little intention behind it.
Okay. So with this, we have our stones for the month of October. Thank you for bringing that to us, Jen. What I want everybody to walk away and walk into October with is the ultimate energy of divine love with a mother figure, a mother essence. So I want you to just kind of close your eyes for a minute. And I want you to think of that one person that makes you feel safe, supported, like she's your biggest or he's your biggest fan. That when you are in their presence, you are accepted, you are loved, you are whole, you feel complete, and you feel like you just fit in, and that you don't have to be anything other than yourself. That is the energy of October, because it's asking you to be that way to your people, your friends, your lover, your clients. It's about being this dominant, divine energy. So all relationships need this right now. If you are married, I want you to make your partner feel that this month. They need to hear that you validate them, that you appreciate them. They need to know that you are, just oozing love. All right. Your children, maybe you haven't said it in a while, but I am so proud of you. Yeah, I yell. Yeah, sometimes I'm disappointed, but or get angry or whatever, but I would move mountains for you. This is the month where you should have the cookouts, you should have the dinners, you should have the friends over, the barbecues, the online parties. It's that big gathering, okay? So please take that, run with it. And the card that I pulled before this reading was financial constraints. And this card is an energy of financial problems and financial disparity and financial lack. But our angels gave us a gift because it was out of alignment, which means it's the reverse. And that is telling us that our financial constraints have been lifted, that these blocks are being destroyed and removed. And now you are going to receive the abundance that you seek to build your dream house. And how perfect is that for October? Like, this card is telling us that all that you desire is within your reach, and that we have become a match to receive our financial abundance.
Oh, I love that.
It is like, thank you, angels. I'm ready to rock this out. Jen, thank you for being my first guest on a
Thank you for having me.
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you.
And for all of those who are watching, make sure that you connect with Jen and give her a shout out. Follow her. You can find her on all her socials as multi.
I really use IG. I don't use Facebook for this work. So that's just like a private Facebook. So I use IG. So just connect with me on IG or Clubhouse and Multidimensional Jen.
So thank you guys. Go be amazing. Let us know in the comments if you've liked this. Let us know what your aha moment was, because you know what? As healers, we like to know that we've left you a little something and that it was connected and resonated. So tell us what you like best. Jen, leave us with something special on our way out. What do you want us to know as we end this live?
That you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
I love you.
Wow. Love you too. Bye.
All right, guys. Thanks. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.